Hello and welcome to GROWL Connex. My name is Greg Olson and I'm the founder of GROWL Agency and the host of GROWL Connex. Today we have Delaney Keating, the Executive Director of Startup Colorado on the show. Hi, Delaney.
Hi, Greg.
How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Great. Well, let's get right into it. I have been fortunate to know Startup Colorado, shortened to SUCO for many of us, for many years, all the various different events across Colorado. And really what's exciting is the passion that the SUCO team has for rural Colorado. So maybe why don't you give us a little introduction about Startup Colorado? So one, our other listeners that may or may not know a little bit about it. And so I don't take away any of your thunder or also get it incorrect.
Gotcha. Yes, so the acronym for Startup Colorado is SUCO, and you have to be careful with it because some people can read it as SUCCO, and that's a real problem. So
I've never said that if I said SUCO.
I know, but it happens on occasion. So, but we always need a reason to laugh. So Startup Colorado is an interesting organization that was actually founded by Phil Weiser, who's now our Attorney General. And it was founded by Phil Weiser when he was at the CU School of Law still. And he has a penchant and a passion for entrepreneurship. So it's always pretty cool to know that entrepreneurs are in good hands at that level in the state. And when he originally founded Startup Colorado, it was in service to the Front Range, Denver and Boulder. And then as they saw so much robust activity happening along the Front Range, versus sunset the organization at that time, they decided to refund it with a rural focus. And that's where Startup Colorado's team comes in today. And the reason that we're such a strong team with passion for rural is that we all live in rural places cut across the state. Myself, I live in Gunnison, Colorado, and have been here for 25 years this year. So you have a lot of care and concern and the difference of community and business and our commitments and our understanding of economies when you live in smaller places with a greater sense of their dependency on all the things.
So a little bit more about the rural, which I find I have a lot of passion in it. As a lot of the listeners know, GROWL was born in the Front Range in Denver, Colorado. And then we moved to Grand Junction, a western slope. There are limited resources when it comes to other founders, businesses, finding everything from business or from funding to hiring to HR to the list goes on, right? And especially during this past year. But why? I mean, I kind of understand, but why do you think it's such a big deal? Why do you think that a resource like this is needed in these environments? We do have other things like business incubators. We have all these items, but so talk a little bit about that, how you see this, how you see SUCO being that resource.
Yeah, the difference is in our rural approach at Startup Colorado is we're really tasked with the mission of fostering a strong, healthy entrepreneurial ecosystem for rural entrepreneurs. And those words can often sound somewhat vacant when we first hear them. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, the word ecosystem always gets a lot of people like, oh, I'm in an ecosystem. I'm in a rural ecosystem now. And I don't think people
like, do I even care? What does it even mean?
I don't think if I can't explain it to my mom, then it probably is harder to understand. But
right. So. Yes. And it's already hard enough to explain to people what you do sometimes when you run a marketing business. So when I look at what we're tasked with, if we were to give it a really clean analogy, is when an entrepreneur, there's this mass of resources out there, right? And if we looked at the game as a playing field, right, just like we're playing football. So there's the field, and the field is a foundation, and what lines the field are all the coaches and all the fans and every aspect that's giving energy to that entrepreneur. And the entrepreneur has a ball in their hands, and that's their baby, right? That's their baby, that's their business. And what they want to do is they want to get that ball down the field. And when we come in at Startup Colorado, what we see is there's a lot of resources available, and in rural communities, while it may feel like there's a lot less, there's actually a lot available across the network of Colorado if we bring awareness and communication to it, right? So that's that threading that entrepreneurial ecosystem together. And how I look at it is what we're trying to do initially is get all the coaches, which are the business support organizations, all those resources, SBDCs, accelerators, business advisors and mentors, get them all better aligned so that they're giving cleaner information. So if they're friends and they're communicating first, then they can communicate better with the entrepreneur. And we're driving more coherence on that playing field for the entrepreneur. And if we zoom out one layer deeper and we look at this experience of the entrepreneur, and we looked at what are all the layers of the ecosystem or the layers of this game that we're playing, the entrepreneurs at the top, and then there's of course all their fans, right? People like us are their fans, or their customers are their fans. And then there's all their coaches, those business support orgs and mentors. And then there's the funders, which we know are a critical part of the ecosystem. And then at the most base layer, there's the foundation that they rest upon, which is the policymakers, right? So we have interest in all of those layers, and we see how that helps the entrepreneur as they navigate. And, you know, if we look at entrepreneurs and the amount of moving parts in any business from startup to growth phases to maturity to exit, there's always a lot of moving parts. And so there's always a lot of headwinds, especially in small business in this country. And so, you know, we're always rooting for the underdog. That's a lot of where our passion comes from. Entrepreneurs in some ways are the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty incredible. They're taking big risks and coming forth with something. And so, and the easiest way to understand it right now, today, 2 weeks from the Super Bowl, is we want to see them all have their Brady Gronk moment, bringing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back to life, right?
I love that you brought Brady and Gronk into a conversation. All right. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. I don't know which one you are, the Brady or the Gronk, or if Suko's a little bit of both, a little bit all of it. But I do agree that you help put game plans into place. You do help with connections and your whole team. So why don't we take a moment and tell me where are the teams located? Like, because I think that's very fascinating for because they do have a deep understanding of rural Colorado, which is very different. And I've gotten more and more a sense of that, of like relocating my business for the past 4 years, of how much there is a different need, and there is a different, it's almost a different language that's spoken about. And I think your team helps translate that. So maybe just a little bit description of where these teams are located.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely look at the work as it's cultural work, right? So if you've been to one rural community, you've been to one rural community. They're all slightly different. And you can't, rural is a very vague bucket to even talk about, right? Because we're talking about communities that range from 60 to 6,000 to 60,000. So there's a lot of variables inside of that. And our team was really able to build trusted relationships across the state in our rural communities because we're placed there. And so Startup Colorado has been founded with agents from Sterling to Durango to Gunnison, Telluride. There's been a breadth of people that have participated.
Yeah.
Our team, currently, we're mostly located on the western slope, but our work, whereas it was very beneficial to be able to be really face-to-face. And in the previous years before the pandemic, we were putting an average of about 40,000 miles a year on cars, cutting across the state, driving all those connections with one of our biggest goals to create density where density doesn't exist, and overcoming one of those hurdles that a rural entrepreneur might feel more so than an urban entrepreneur.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, just across the state, at the time that I've got to spend on different committees and different people I've met, all the way down in one of my favorites is Trinidad, Colorado, about what's happening down there and that. So it's been exciting to see and meet people in that community. I mean, we have Steamboat, of course, Lake City. We have, it's just been, fascinating, these entrepreneurs that are in these different communities really making things happen where you might not think success is happening. So thank you for your team for, all the hard work and trying to make those connections. So I'd like to do is jump to kind of what's happening in the Suco network. We have, I'm going to call it a platform, but your team's done a fantastic job, a lot of work. There's a lot of work ahead, but now you've actually created this kind of like online community that's going to continue to grow depending on what you want, what your interest is, what your question is, and probably more than ever needed now because there's no events happening, right? So why don't you talk a little bit about that? And maybe that's what we always like to do is get that out to as many people as all to get involved in this network.
Yeah, absolutely. If it wasn't for the year that we spent driving everywhere, making friends, really supporting communities where they're at, I mean, we certainly believe we get to work with some of the most amazing people in all of these communities, from the entrepreneurs to the people who stand behind them to help them do the work locally. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think we'd be having the success that we have in the platform today in the short time that we're having it. So it really is a testament to the importance of building offline before you build online, which, we do our best as a startup for startups to live by our principles and to test and experiment. And the platform itself is a giant experiment. But we know that in order to create that greater cohesion on the playing field for entrepreneurs, and to really scale our work and to break down those geopolitical boundaries and to quickly bridge across those, many miles from town to town, online is the best way to do it. And words like platform, I mean, nobody in their life thinks they need another online platform. So we certainly hope that this thing either fails all the way or wins all the way, no gray area in between. And that's a big bite to chew for a small team like Suco, and we're giving it everything we've got, but we're only able to do so because of the partners we have. And so what makes the Suco platform unique is that where we see a lot of dilution, and sort of we're becoming quite lackadaisical around global networks that aren't serving us as much anymore, we believe the principles that originally founded those global networks, if we create more niche-based networks that really serve our interests and our needs, then we can return to that value for networks, and especially online networks. Networks are always beneficial. I'm speaking about the online networks. And so we've launched our online platform, this online community or network, 4 months ago, right about today, actually. It's exactly 4 months today. And we did it with all of those partners from across the state. So it took about 50 people from across the state, helped us select the platform and build it out. And what's great about the way we're building this platform is it's not just an online community. There's a lot of resources available there, a lot of dynamic content. The way to connect to the broader state from the state level all the way down to the local level. But it also really allows people to be part of their local community network at the same time. So it's kind of 2 tiers of participation. And you can't really understand it till you just get on it and check it out. So, there's the plug. Startup Colorado.
It's free and it's free.
Yes.
It's a free.
Totally free.
I'm going to jump in and say, you're right. It's another platform, but the thing I've learned about being kind of in the Suco network, let's say, or ecosystem, I think it is that rural ecosystem, but also many of us as rural entrepreneurs or rural business people. And again, we might talk about people can tune in more on GROWL Radio to learn more about, or kind of talk more about policy and things like that, that a lot of these businesses are 20 and under, and they're manufacturers. We have people making ski poles. We have all different things I've met. And a lot of us don't have time to go drive across the state, go to a conference and that. So what I think this does is it does allow to have this network of people that you would love to have the opportunity to meet. And in previous jobs, before I was a business owner, I got to go to all these trade shows and conferences because, but it's hard to do that now as a business owner. And even take away that it's COVID, that there isn't any opportunity, makes it even more beneficial. If I want to meet somebody, even from if it's something legal, HR, or I'm looking for equipment or help, I think this is the platform, the network, the ecosystem that allows these business owners and people that have expertise in certain things to connect. So it's a new way, I think, that Startup Colorado is thinking and how they communicate. And and it will be very beneficial, especially as we get more and more people involved in using it. So I'm really excited about it, and I know your team is, and it's just it's another thing that's added to their list for a small team. But
Yeah. Well, we're not traveling, so in a grateful way, it's become our organization, and it's shifted our work significantly.
Yeah.
Because of the sort of dimension of the platform we chose. It's not just a live feed, though that's hugely beneficial. And there's a lot of benefit to just getting on there and asking questions and sharing resources. But there's a lot of agents for any entrepreneur to know joining the platform. There are a lot of agents sitting there who are from business support or funders or mentors, and they're participating and they're watching and listening. So when you're initially getting responses, it's from somebody whose job is to serve you in their community or at the state level. And so you're really getting qualified people who are watching. And then there's, of course, all the benefit of a peer-to-peer network as well. But the amount of people, our network has always been at Suco since we started, about 50-50 entrepreneurs and business support agents. So there's a literal army out there built to support these entrepreneurs, and it's just making sure they have access to them. And you never know, because of the platform, your local SBDC director may have missed your question and didn't get you to the right resource, but you put the question on the platform, and the SBDC director from the neighboring town saw the question differently and got you the right answer, right? So it just kind of pops the top on being able to organically get to the things you want and need. And part of where we see that value too, to your point, of entrepreneurs being so incredibly busy, is you need something you could log into at 1 a.m. when you wake up and just drop that question.
Well, there's been so much, I know that, and I think we'll get to the point and we'll talk about successes and all the people you've helped, in the fact that there's been people connecting to funding they needed right away, or different policy makers that there's connections there. So fantastic job. Looking forward to keeping it going, getting more and more people involved in the platform / ecosystem. A platform Plato system. I don't know. Maybe it's a Plato system. And
I don't know. I'll take any 2 words. If anybody wants to come up with new words.
I know. And then people are like, "Oh my gosh, they're in a Plato system." So, okay, a couple of questions, couple last closing points. I mean, any big challenge biggest challenge that Suco is working on right now? I know there's maybe we can distill it down to one on the top of your brain. I know there's probably a million. I don't usually, sometimes I've been on conversations with you and there's a bunch of white paper behind you with a lot of things on it. So I know you have a lot of things on your plate that you're helping solve, but what's a big challenge that Suco is working on right now?
The main challenge for us is making sure that the platform delivers as much value as it can, as quick as it can from that first interaction, right? We know it's a dare to be great moment, and entrepreneurs are, what's great about entrepreneurs is how honest they are. They're not worried about public backlash, and they're not vying for votes, right? So they'll tell you straight up, I don't need a platform, but if there's going to be one, it better work. And you're like, all right, so
that is
they
true.
challenge us, and we're doing everything to rise to that occasion. And I think the other challenge right now is just a lot of business supporters. We're all just trying to move as fast as we can, and keeping pace with the need and the demand for where we see small business needs us right now is really intense. So we're all just running as fast as we can.
Yeah, I say it has been a more intense year than I've ever seen it, with COVID and the speed of business and the speed of the length of hours people are working, and how quickly they need answers. And I think that is true. A lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, I mean, they're like to live or die moment many times, that we're trying to connect them to resources, support, funding, whatever it is. And I think that's what I'm seeing more than I have in any other year, is that there's just quick responses are required. And I think this Plata system, platform ecosystem, does that. Okay, so how should people get involved? How should they sign up? What does it take? I'm sure I know it's pretty easy, but I would like to hear it from you.
Yeah, it's it's about as easy as it gets. You just go to startupcolorado.org and click request to join. It's always helpful if you fill out your profile completely, because there's lots of benefit to the search analytics. The more complete your profile is, and also introducing yourself on the live feed is something we're seeing people start to do on their own, which is really lovely because it helps us get to know them too. We used to have the benefit of getting to know people more face to face, and now it just takes that little extra push. So it's just don't be shy. It's built for you. And if there's anything we really learned in this last year, it falls true to the quote that, progress can only happen at the speed of the relationships that guide it. And that's certainly true in Colorado. And this work is what a close-knit community is showing up to support all progress.
I like that. Last thing, as I close out with you on this show, we have, I was looking, Suko has a lot of amazing relationships with people putting on different events. You're putting on events. I saw Bringing the Black Magic to Entrepreneurship. I think I love that title. And also you're doing partnering with SBDC on classes. They're doing items. So I guess anything you want to add to that, but I think that your team's coming up with really great titles and interesting concepts and helping connect people together, especially in times of maybe stress, and bringing some levity to things with their education.
Yeah. I don't even know who's putting on bringing the Black Magic to Entrepreneurship. Is that what it's called? I don't know. Yep. That's a great
Black magic
name. Whoever's doing it's great. So a lot of the events that you'll see, while some are Suko, the majority of it is us getting behind the events are already being done. So we do a lot of work to support the lift of all those support orgs. It takes a lot of work to put on any little event. And so we go to the table to help promote those, because we know we can help mobilize the network, whether it was pre-pandemic or today, just in the Zoom environment, and getting people to attend an event in their neighboring town. Or even across the state, because they can, now that's of course not an issue, but they can make good use of the resources that are out there, because not every community can have all the things. Yeah.
No, they can't. And I think that it's great to have resources that you're aligning to different events happening. Everybody's going, obviously had to go online. So I love that there's still resources available about how to get help running your business, marketing your business, funding your business, all those items. Well, we'll close out. We've been sitting here on another GROWL Connex show with Delaney Keating, the executive director of Startup Colorado, also known as Suko. You can check them out at startupcolorado.org and learn more about their platform/ecosystem. And I ask that anybody's listening, get involved, take a look. There's many ways that you can be, if you're an entrepreneur, get involved. If you're a business support organization, you can get involved. So reach out to their team and make an impact. With that, Delaney, I thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be on the Connex show.
Yeah, thank you.